and welcome back to another episode of Deca Debrief. I am Sam/CW Girl. We have
Cansonio.
Shoeler.
and
Piggy?
Piggy. All right, we have a Patreon. Special thanks to everyone who's donated on our Patreon so far for helping to keep our show alive. We have sponsors. We have Realm Slayers, A Trapper's Ideas Discord, Lost Halls Hideout, Century Cleanup Crew, and Marble Core Hunters. Now that our plugs are out of the way, let's dive into our episode. So, right now with us, we have some very illustrious figures from the Pub Halls Discord. Cansonio is the current admin of Pub Halls right now, and Shoeler is quite a big Pub Halls RL. So, Cansonio, I know that I've asked you this on the history already, but how did Pub Halls start out?
Okay, well, I'm not actually the original owner of the server. The original owner is a good friend called Boo. I asked him how it started out, and I'll just read off what he told me. Yeah, so pretty much he said he was fucking rich, so people started asking to join the server, and because he bought 300 Lost Halls keys, and they did some daily, and he just kept popping halls until the server grew and people could pop halls for him. And yeah, I think like he gained 400 people in just a day or two, and yeah, once that was done, he used all his keys, and then he started setting up the server the way it is. I mean, kind of now, I guess. I don't know. The explanation he gave me was actually really weird. I think it kind of boils down to he had a lot of keys. He told people to join his server. He popped the keys, and then it just went from there. I'm pretty sure that's the whole story.
That's like simple, sweet, but it turns out that like now it's one of the most long-lasting active Discords now, seeing how everything else died.
Yeah.
So what would you say? What would you say is like the best and the worst things about Pub Halls? Because I feel like there's a lot of controversy when it comes to Pub Halls, but we never really hear much about how the staff feels about Pub Halls itself.
All right. Well, I mean, I've been here since last year, November, so over a year now. My favorite part of the halls was always the other staff members. So, I love working with everyone. I love people like Shoeler, all the raid leaders. I try to make sure that we have this environment of friendliness, and that, it's like we're all buds here. And so definitely the staff is my favorite part of doing the server. And it's part of the reason why I've stuck around so long. I wouldn't give it up my boys for anything. How about you, Shoeler? What's your favorite part of the halls?
As much as I would love to say the staff, because you said you love me, I actually like about 99.9% of the raiders, and that's the reason I keep doing it, because they actually show a lot of appreciation. Because for the most part, they know that I take time out of a relatively busy schedule to give them an opportunity to do halls if, for whatever reason, they aren't able to lead themselves. So it just gives them some sort of something to look forward to in the day, to see someone who they like as a raid leader come on and lead some halls for them. And the fact that they show their appreciation for that is pretty nice in my opinion, and that's my favorite thing.
Yeah, no, definitely what Schuler said. A lot of people think, the community's toxic, and that, that everyone just gives hate. And that's true to a certain extent. We definitely get a lot of hate, and there's a lot of toxic people. But I honestly say that the most part, the raiders are great. There's always going to be those toxic minorities, but they're very vocal, so people focus on that. But we don't focus on like the super nice people, who support us every day.
So would you say like the worst thing about Pub Halls is like that 0.01% that is the vocal toxic people?
Actually, for me, that's not too big of a deal anymore. Since I've just been dealing with them so long. I think as the current owner of the server, my worst part, I guess, is just the fact that I can't please everyone. So I have to make those tough calls sometimes where it's like some people aren't going to be happy with it, and some other people's will be happy, and it's just making those big decisions. Like sometimes you gotta let people go. Demoting is definitely my least favorite part of the job, but just making decisions that I know there's always going to be someone who's unhappy. I wish I could make everyone happy, but unfortunately that's just not possible. How about you, Schuler?
The least favorite part, I don't have to make any of those tough admin decisions. My probably at least my least favorite part is when I get pinged to lead when I know I can't, and I'm like, I really want to help. Like at my personality, naturally, I want to go help people out, but I know that I physically cannot help. Like I'm just sitting in class and I get a ping that's like, go lead. And I like one time I actually sent a picture in like my math lecture and was like, bro, I'm in class, I can't lead. And other people are like, oh, I guess you're
bad.
right. You have a real life that you need to deal with. So like,
What are you talking about? You play Realm. What kind of life do you lead?
You're slaves. All the raid leaders are my slaves. You guys don't have lives. What are you talking about? You live to serve. That's what your purpose is.
yeah. So when my master lets me to go to class, I go to class.
I'm a generous master. I don't want him to fail college just yet.
But seriously, like when you see their runs are down for a few hours and it's the server that has done well for you for months on end when you're not a raid leader, and then when you finally have an opportunity to raid lead and give something back to the server and you see they're in need of some help, but you can't give back, is probably the worst feeling for me.
Mm-hmm.
I love you, Shoeler.
That's deep.
That's deep. I like you, Shoeler. I love you. Glad I made you. I'm glad I'm a nice master.
Piggy, do you run pub halls frequently at all, or have you ever?
You're hurting my heart, Piggy. Come on, man.
I'm sorry. I can do one after this episode. I'll do one pub hall.
Are you verified?
I'm pretty sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Piggy, you're killing me here.
I think one of the main controversies about pub halls is regarding its hacker policy. From what I understand, you're somewhat neutral about it. You don't really have a stance on trying to witch hunt hackers at all, but I know other people view it very differently, and they see it as, oh, pub halls doesn't witch hunt, that means that they're very pro hacker. What would you say about it, and what exactly is your position, and what would you like to elaborate on about it?
Oh yeah, the hacker policy. Oh boy, this has been a big fiasco since the very beginning. Ever since I got here, even. And I know it might be a little bit different in the past, but I've always been running it as a very neutral policy, and that's what the rest of the halls does. And our stance is this, like. First off, I'm pretty sure there's like 60% of the Realm community hacks, maybe more. I honestly don't know because I don't hack, but I know tons of people hack. And at the end of the day, any Discord that claims that they have no hackers whatsoever, they're hacker free, that's honestly just not true. And I think it's something that's very hard to moderate. And a lot of people, since you can fake evidence of this stuff, we don't have the ability to really discern which evidence brought to us is real and what is completely fake. It's hard to tell sometimes. And at the end of the day, it's just, we don't promote hacking. So you'll never find a leader saying, hey, hack and make the run easier. But if you have evidence of someone hacking, I strongly encourage you send that to Deca, because not only will that stop them from coming to our runs, their account will get suspended or banned, and so that permanently solves your problem. So don't send to us, send to Deca. Like, we'll help you along. We'll send you over to Deca, but I want to state, we do not promote hacking. That's never been a thing for me, and hopefully it never will. You can send Biggie. Yeah, Biggie's got it in. I hear he's got it in. He knows some people on the staff.
This is sort of along the same line, but how do you feel about tracking? People who track your runs and try to crash it. I hear that it doesn't affect pub halls too much, given that pub halls are so big, but nonetheless, how do you feel about that?
All right.
Yeah,
I'll
let Shoeler take that
first.
one.
Yeah.
All right. So I have talked to lots of trackers and crashers since I've started as RL. They discourage us not to, but to be honest, I still do. I learned why they do it. I talk to them to learn, like, hey, why do you drag things in the run? Why do you maliciously do these things to screw up the run on purpose and ruin other people's experiences? And for what they give me their reasons, whether it be a legitimate reason like, oh, pub halls banned me for doing something against the rules, so I hate them forever now, and I'm just going to troll stasis or troll decoy their entire runs. Those are the people I'm not really huge fans of, because they hurt the run. Whereas if you just have random people tracking and sitting early in locations and they're just like normal raiders, I don't have too much of an issue with them. So like you have what the server defines crashers are just people who aren't in VC but in the run. So like any old person could just be sitting in the Nexus, see a flock of 120 people going into a bazaar and just join the run. By our definition of crashers, which seems a little bit negative, they are crashing by the definition of the server. If they're not doing anything malicious, just going around with the group, I don't have an issue with that. However, if we do have some notorious crashers who do like to drag crusades on the entire group, drag multiple crusades from behind, stasis and decoy everything, which just slows down the run. So essentially, the only issue I have with it is when they hurt the run. So, TLDR, if they just track to get in, it's fine.
Whoa. Whoa, Shoeler. It's not as big of a deal.
That's correct.
I think what Shoeler says is right on some level. Like, I prefer you not crash. But if you're gonna crash, at least be a gentleman about it. Don't fuck with everyone. Just like, I don't know, crashers, they're interesting a lot. A lot of them are vindictive. They'll be like, I broke the rules, and to prove that I'm innocent, I will break the rules again. Just prove my point. And I'm just like, yeah, they'll crash and drag, and then they'll message me and be like, unban me, or I'll keep dragging and crashing. And I'll be like, that's not that, but that's not how it works, my friend. But yeah, trackers, thank goodness I don't have to deal with them anymore. I don't lead as much as I used to, nowhere near. So I guess Shoeler has a more in-depth opinion on it. But yeah, crashers, interesting lot.
Shoeler, this is more directed towards you again, but how's it like to be a Pub Halls RL? Like, would you say it's any different? I'm not sure if you have any experience being like a Mad Peach RL or MCH or Dungeon Unity or anything like that, but what would you say is different about being in Pub Halls as opposed to like another Discord?
Pub Halls was the first place I got RL for. The only other Discord I've ever served as an ARL, TRL, whatever, was for their partnered chats Discord. And they're just, they have a very similar culture, but it's a little bit smaller. So like when I first joined the server, I got like the typical welcome from Cansonio, and he was like, congrats, you've gotten a position, we looked over your app, it looked good. We probably had some people put in a good word for you, because at the time I was in a guild with some people who are higher up in the staff, so they probably put in a good word for me, which helped. And so once you get in, it's a very welcoming culture, as long as you are friendly when you first walk in, and then people will be friendly back to you. If you demonstrate success in runs and you seem like a good person just as a whole in Discord, the way you talk, the way you deal with raiders, the way you interact with people, like that first week or two when everyone's supervising your runs, when you're not allowed to lead on your own, that basically sets the tone for how people view you as a person until you see a drastic change. And so basically my first move when I got my ARL position was I wanted to do as many runs as I could and make them as quick and efficient and as successful as I could, so that way people could see me as a successful leader, people could see me as a good person through how I interacted with people on the Discord. And basically what you give is what you get. If you are a very kind, outgoing, likable person and you lead good runs, people will treat you with respect, and you won't have too many issues. And I haven't really experienced the other side because I don't know too many cases of that. So there it is.
If you don't mind, like I said, I've Lost Halls is my thing. I've never raid led on any other server. Maybe once for Shatters, but that was because Sad asked me to. But from what I hear, they might just be, ruffling, it might be just be combing my feathers a bit. But from what I heard from some other staff members, such as Let's a Team, used to be LHZ staff, and it's definitely one of the things that makes me the proudest as a moderator, is that at least some people like Let's a Team feel like the difference is that they can tell that we care, and I think that's super awesome, and it's super true as well. Like everything I do, I do it for the server and for the staff, and it's really nice to hear some of the staff members tell me who like came from other servers and tell me that it feels like there's more care, and that's like at the end of the day what we're trying to do with the staff is make it so like everyone knows they're welcome, and we're just a group of guys having some fun, having a good time, and yeah, and that's just I like it. It's good stuff.
Would you say that pub halls runs have been affected at all by like the recent deficit in players in Realm? Because I know other Discords, they've just been dying recently.
When people say that Realm is dying and they're like, "Do you guys do less runs?" We did 350 runs last week. I think right now we're edging at 300 for this week, and it hasn't even been the end of the week yet. We do like a solid 50 runs a day. So when people say the game is dying, and they base it off other Discords, I can't see it because we do a shit ton of runs. And I mean, I don't know, Shoeler, how about you? I don't play the game as much anymore.
Again,
I just moderate.
It goes back to my thing about the thing I like least about this Discord. There's so many people. I'm constantly getting pinged to lead. Like, it's incredible. Like, even when there are people available to lead, I'll get pings that say, "We have 150 people for this one run. Please, we need a second or even third raid leader to do more runs because we have 40 people not getting into a run." And the fact that we're even fitting 110, 115 people into a run when the dungeon caps at 85 is pretty fascinating. But regardless, the game is not dead. It might be less used than it used to be, but that's just going to kick right back up soon because there's a lot of people who are going on winter breaks or summer breaks. If you live in Australia, there are a lot of people getting out of school soon and going on like vacations for work if they're at that stage in their life. So it's a little bit more of a seasonal game as you age, but people are going to start coming back in the real near future based on the time of year.
You said like pub halls isn't affected by crashers due to sheer size. Actually, it's sheer size that allows the crashes to sometimes affect us. I know that. I don't know if they still do it. I'm sure they do. MCH was like, they were calling our run servers in place of their own. And so we would get like 40 crashers, and we'd have like 200 people in a bazaar. And like, I mean, that's just not cool, man. Like, come on, dude. Like, you guys are your own server. Do your own runs. Stop leeching off ours. But I mean, that's one way, like, that's another reason why we don't like trackers. It's because we want everyone to be able to do the run. And if you're in the server and you're reacting to it, we can adjust runs accordingly. Because if we see that we have 170 reacts, we'll try to get a second leader on to lead. But if we think we're going to have 80 people and then 150 show up, that really messes with the numbers a bit, and it makes it harder for us to make sure everyone can get into the run. So yeah.
Yeah, what's the deal with that? I hear that MCH has just been crashing pub halls runs. Like, what?
I don't know, man. I mean, like, the thing is, we don't ever start beef with other servers, but like, I guess they feel like the need to prove something to us. I mean, it's crazy too because MCH claims that pub halls are like the worst and that we're trash and that we're not worth doing runs with. And then my question is, if we're so bad and not worth it, why do you keep coming to our runs? Like, then do better than us. I honestly think that MCH would be what could have completely beat us in competition if they had just gone and done their own thing. Because I mean, they do fast runs, like legitimately. Their runs are, if we're talking about run speed, when they successfully do a run, their runs are very fast. And so that's a selling point that a lot of the advanced players are looking for. Pub halls kind of caters to that middle ground. And advanced players will be looking for those fast, super spicy rushing runs, high danger, high reward. And they could have capitalized on that. They were doing well. When cult wasn't working and, you couldn't do cult because everyone got DC'd, we weren't doing runs at all because no vials for voids and you can't do cult. And then they could have completely crushed us in that week where Deca did nothing. But, I mean, they went the wrong route in my opinion. What about you, Shu? I don't know about that.
Oh, man. So I know several people in there from previous experiences. and I try not to start beef with them, but it's just like a fun, friendly competition, in my opinion. Some people don't see it as such because they're hurting the reputation of the server, of our server in part, because if they have 40 people crashing our run, that's 40 people from our Discord that may not make it. So those people from our Discord may not like us, and they'll be like, oh, they're popping the key way too early. They don't care about people who aren't max speed and can't run in the bazaar, people with crappy internet. So they're not appealing to everyone. They're appealing to people with the superior either character speed or superior people with superior internet speed or whatever. So they may not like us for it. But outside of that, kind of like what Cansonio said earlier, when it was they had a really, really good timing for when their server started. It was when the cult bug happened and everyone was disconnecting from cults, and they had all sorts of vials and stuff stocked up. So they were running voids after voids after voids. And I'll admit, I did some of their runs, and they were very well. It was very good timing, and they were very well executed for the most part. And then they started trying to set the world record runs, and a lot of those, they're hit or miss because you're rushing every single room, and sometimes they fail because you get 3 Crusades dragged on you into Marble Defender, and then everyone just dies or nexuses. Whereas if you do have successful runs, again, it appeals to the more advanced players who have gone through maybe Pub Halls or another Lost Halls server and are like, this is a little bit too slow, starting to get a little bit boring, and are looking for that advanced experience. So, like, it's nice to have variety in your Discord servers. I was at one point in like 4 or 5 Lost Halls servers because they all served like a different purpose. So like one I could go to for runs with a bunch of 8/8s that I knew would be quick and efficient. Pub was always the reliable server that gave me the most runs. So like I could always go to them when no one else was running, and sometimes I went to them anyway because I knew they would have so many people, they would always succeed. And then there's just other servers just come and go, but Pub Halls has always been there, and I feel like MCH had a chance to be running along with us as well, but again, it looks like they're slowly falling as well, which is a little bit unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Hit or miss.
Hit or
Guess
miss.
They never miss, huh?
You got a
So
boy.
what do you?
Sorry, my friend watches a lot of TikTok memes. I can't get out of my head. It's killing me.
So what do you think Deca should do about crashers in Lost Halls or various raiding discords?
Maybe ban them. maybe punish them. Who knows? I mean, I'm not a genius, but I feel like that could be a great first step in the direction.
There was this one dude spamming super big trickster decoys. That guy who was spamming whatchamacallit, the 16x16 ST golem decoys with a
I know what
dancing
you're talking
prism.
about.
Yeah, Silex, like not mod Silex, but the other Silex. I probably shouldn't talk about it, but yeah, it's something like that's a little bit stupid, and we need to start looking into that, especially even like mechanic things like that could be disturbing to the run because you have a lot of prisms, a lot of decoys everywhere. They're super big, so you can't really see sometimes, and they might, blend into the other golems that are in the room, something like that. So yeah, I really do agree. Some things really need to be held in check.
With servers like the Hub dying, LHC, EDZ, and servers like SBC having, well, they've been recently a lot more active, but still only a few. Why do you think that Pub Halls is able to attract such a large crowd?
Definitely one is the super low requirements. All right, like look. Okay, what's the SBC? It's like 5 8/8s, like
Oh, yeah.
6
3,000 alive fame. Like, that's just a lot, And I haven't played this game for a while, and I mean I don't have that because I just don't grind, and so I think definitely big part of it is our requirements are a lot easier to meet because literally it's like have a level 20 character and literally have gear that's not absolute dog shit, and you're in. Like there's no stat requirements, nothing. So and also, rip to my man Mad Peach, but maybe don't ban like 5,000 people, right? Like that could be a big first step in that direction. Don't ban like half of the players who are active on your server, and I don't know. I like we just do what we do. Stay out of drama as best as we can. We don't start things with any other servers, Yeah, I think one big part of Pub Hall success are the raid leaders. a lot of the raid leaders are awesome, and they attract people to the server, and that's a big part of it. Having fun raid leaders, and I know, like, at least from what I heard was some servers back in the day, like LHZ, the runs were kind of mundane and boring. Like everyone stuck to a script, and all they did was lead. But here at Pub Halls, like we want you guys to have a good time, and so we always tell our leaders that it's fine to talk about stuff. Interact with the community, have banter, some back and forth. Don't make it just a super boring one-way street. You want to be like talking to the chat. Chat's toxic, but we still talk to them because we love you guys, and just having a good time. That's what it's about. And I think if people enjoy doing runs here, then they'll naturally come back. How about you, Shoeler? Shoeler count number 5.
Yes.
All right.
We raking
I
up
can
points.
agree. I can agree with that. So, I lost my train of thought already. And I think, again, the reason Pub Halls lives on is because, like, we have people who will not always meet the recs of top tier discords, and we appeal to everyone, regardless of hacking stance, or regardless of how good you are at the game, or regardless of anything else, your schedule in life. We'll take you in. We'll consider you a member of this Discord as long as you follow some relatively simple rules. So, like, if you're able to read rules and follow through with them most of the time, then you can join our server. And not everyone else is able to do that, because even like LHZ and the Peach servers had requirements that weren't hard to attain, but still, you couldn't have new players like 1 or 2 months old joining their servers, and you needed some sort of experience. Whereas with Pub Halls, you can get people up to speed if they're new. Just put them right in with the experienced players, so that way they'll have successful runs right off the bat, assuming they don't unfortunately die or Nexus. But assuming they are consistently surviving, they can be guaranteed good runs, because we allow anyone to be in the server. And that's the reason it doesn't die.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely part of it, yeah. How about you, Piggy?
What? How about you?
No, I'm just kidding. I just wanted to say
that.
that one time. Because apparently there's starting a count of how many times I say, how about you, Shoeler? So I thought I'd add Piggy in on the fun here.
Well, I don't want to interrupt my master, of course. I don't want to get, like, fired.
Stop it. You're going to give them the wrong idea. FBI is knocking on my door, all right? You got to stop it, dude. They're going to break down the door. They got cameras on me. Don't do it. Oh my god. No, we're not starting a master count. Stop it. Just stop it, please. You're gonna kill me. Oh man.
What changes could be done to Lost Halls to make it harder for players who shouldn't be at the ability to run the dungeon?
Yeah, I looked at that question. I was like, that question is very interesting worded. I actually asked Vincent about it, and he said pretty much what it means is it's kind of dumb that players who are noob, like, okay, I don't want to say noobs, but players who are really new to the game and
aren't experienced,
they can do the run just as easily as anyone else. Like, they could just leech in the back and stuff. It's pretty much just like some people, I guess we'll call them noobs, shouldn't be able to do the runs so easily. What can be done to make it a little bit harder, so there's an actual end game dungeon instead of an anyone can do dungeon. Hopefully I explained that correctly. I mean, I saw answer. It was like, make the dungeon do 20 non-armor piercing damage every half second.
What's that's just killing people with no pets. What?
No. See, the thing is, if you have 20 armor, it doesn't do any damage to you.
Damn.
Mind blown. So you have to bring good gear. I like that idea. You know what? You can't have 0.8s anymore with like shitty gear, because you're gonna take like 10 damage a second, like 10 damage every half second. You just go bam, bam, bam. Constantly chased by a spooky. No, that's not a good idea. But
I feel like at the same time, Realm has such a difficult curve in the beginning. Like, if you ever try to do like an NPE without a decent pet, it's so hard. Like you can't run dungeons nearly as easily as you can once you're like, a little bit more familiar with the game. It's so hard to start out.
Yeah, the learning curve is huge. Like you have to die a lot of times to start
Oh
picking
yeah.
up, you know? I mean, it's like practice makes perfect. Too bad you'll never be perfect, so just keep practicing. But yeah, I know what you mean. I honestly can't think of any ideas like just off the start. I mean, the thing I can think of is like making a room similar to the Marble Defender one, where like it's just covered in lower damage shots, but like if you're maxed and you have decent gear or something, like it won't even affect you and you'll be able to walk through easily. But if you're like 0-8 with shit gear, you just get shredded by a grinder as you go through. But
Jeez.
I think I like the accessibility of the dungeon, though I know it can be kind of annoying to be like, to have like, I guess those noobs, those damn noobs taking all my loot. But having the noobs taking all the loot, I mean, I don't know. I like the accessibility of the dungeon, in part because there are raiders, and I like our raiders.
I kind of like it because noobs can actually do the dungeons, because it's like
Yeah, and it's not. Yeah, sorry. What about you, Piggy?
count two. Well, it's like, I mean, halls are like one of the end game dungeons, right? In order to progress in the game, you need to get more items, right? And like the fact that it's like accessible to like people who may or may not have had the chance to like progress so quickly in the game. I feel like that's pretty nice, because I remember back in the day, I don't know, like end of Kabam era, like 2015ish, when I first started playing, it was like you needed a guild to do like to pop tombs for you, and then maybe you would get a life pot and you try to keep grinding those, but you'd also need like a bunch of high level players to kind of boost you. But the thing with pub halls, sorry, is that like you can do it without having to have all those high level connections, like people actually popping keys for a small amount of people, like a guild tomb or something.
Yeah, and like, realistically, even if you're a noob and like you get through the dungeon, it's not that easy. Like, I
Yeah.
think, yeah, like boss fights. There's a great chance you'll die in a boss fight because all the shots pierce enemy. Like most of the shots pierce allies. There's so many shots going around. I mean, I've played some unmaxed characters in the halls, and even with a decent pet, it's not as easy as you think it'd be. So I think when you see like a 0-8 getting through the dungeon, well, it's probably an experienced player on a 0-8, someone who's really good at the game and dodging shots. I honestly think the dungeon is pretty hard for people who don't know how to do it. How about you, Shoeler?
That's what I was waiting for. So
Yes.
I don't know if Deca takes into consideration the fact that Realm has adapted to Discord, because before, when Endgame was considered Tombs, OTs, and O2, people would run those just randomly with other random people, minimal organization, or would do it as a guild, which you can only have 50 people in a guild, and the odds that all of you are online at one time are very slim. So at most, conservatively, I'd say you'd have 25 to 30 people who would be running these dungeons. And so I think they've kept that mindset as they've evolved dungeons like Shatters, and which early on were battlefields with everyone dying early on. But as people learned how the dungeon worked, learned the procedural nature, and people understood what that dungeon was like, then it was easier, and it was made even easier by discords. So like we have our Shatters discords, which have leaders, and so it makes those dungeons even easier to a point where they're basically routine. So I found myself trying to go in with, whenever I find a random sentry, I run in train servers every once in a while. So like I'll be in a train server and a sentry will spawn, and we'll kill the sentry, and we'll maybe some people will go in the halls, and it's not easy. Like you go in there with some random people, and like it's not easy. It's so much easier using a Discord, and it's because I think of Discord that these runs have gotten easier. You can't go into a halls with a random group of 20 people who are extremely uncoordinated and be able to have a successful run. Cult, let alone Void, you can't do it. So, or if you do, it's extremely difficult. So I think The dungeons haven't gotten harder. The people have just gotten smarter and utilized Discord to their advantage to make it seem easier.
Sure.
From your perspective as people who do like a large amount of Lost Halls, what would be your advice to people who are only starting to do Lost Halls now?
Actually, I'm making a guide right now.
Ooh.
Entry level guide for Lost Halls. It took me like 3 hours to get the first 7 minutes finished.
Oh, yes.
But hopefully that will answer some questions. Stay in the middle of the group. Don't die. That's like the most basic. I mean, how to do Lost Halls? Like, literally just stay in the center of the group. Play a melee if you want to be tanky and be ballsy, or just play a priest. Like, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Priest, something like that. Stay in the back of the group. Dodge shots. But yeah, shout out to my guide, I guess. I mean, I don't know how long it'll take me to make, but I'm trying to make it as in-depth as possible while also being not as long. That doesn't make sense. I don't think I can do this. Monk S.
Efficient is the word you're
Efficient,
looking
yeah.
for.
Efficient for newer players, but also it will have some tips for older players. Look at that. I'm advertising myself. What about you, Piggy?
Chawar Lost Halls Guide when? Question mark, question mark, question mark.
Oh, man. Feels bad.
Oof.
I mean,
What about you, Shoeler, as an RL?
Yes. 7.
What would be your advice to players who are only starting to do Lost Halls now?
My advice is, first and foremost, since a lot of players here are experienced, let me know in advance. So I have people who are like, hey, this is like my first run or something, and I'll be like, all right, now I know to maybe call extra things and explain what certain things do and explain certain phases a little more, because if you do that over and over and over, it might seem like the runs are getting boring, like other servers which would only do calls in the runs and stuff like that, and we like to keep it exciting and engage in chat. But if you have some people who are like, hey, I'm new, I need a little bit more assistance than a typical raid leader would give, then like, hey, I may need to explain some phases more, especially like Marble Colossus or Void, or especially in these boss fights, or if we run into like Crusades and things, you might need to explain exactly what we want you to do. We want knights to go up and try to get stuns while not getting popped. We want people to use like foamies or whatever they can to slow. And you just need to do that with every room, so that way they understand how a halls works without reading 20 pages of Realm Eye or watching a 20-minute video guide. They can get that experience while in a run. So I guess letting people know in advance isn't embarrassing. I've had people do it, and it just allows me as an RL to know and understand who I'm working with, so I don't bore the experienced people by only doing calls, but at the same time, I don't make it miserable for the new people, because I'm just literally having banter with the chat and not explaining anything in the run at all.
Oh, that's nice. What would you think would be a good addition to Lost Halls?
The server or the dungeon?
You know what? Both. Why not both?
Oh no, a double-edged question. Oh my god. What do we do? Run. All right. Shoeler, why don't you start this one then?
Oh,
you can
boy.
start with something.
So the server, what can you improve? One of my actually most recent gripes, which I don't even know if I want to call it a gripe, was like, who the heck are the admins for this server? Like, I know who they are outside of Cansonio, but they're not really present. But like, it was explained to me over time that like, hey, they might do some behind the scenes stuff. They don't really interact with too much, but they do a lot of work behind the scenes. But I think it would be cool if they maybe interacted with us plain folk RLs more often instead of just in the we are the masters of
It's like
the
Mad Peach.
yes
Always
You
behind the
peasants.
scenes.
yes
You assume much.
Yes, we are in the supreme chats. We do not stoop down to the raid leader and the raider chats because we are supreme. But
Whoa, I speak in the leader chats. What are
I
you talking
said
about?
except you.
Oh no, that's because all the other admins are dead. I killed them.
Anyway, but that's aside from that, I think this Discord is literally It does everything except for fame training, because we have the events section that was recently added after the death of EDZ, and that was really successful early on. Not too successful this week, mostly because it was just like basic G-Lance dungeons that anyone can do on their own. But outside of that, it's
Really?
extremely successful.
I saw 70ish people doing the events with us.
That was
this
on
week.
Friday, like right
I
as
thought
it came
it was
out.
yesterday, right?
All right.
I thought it was yesterday too. Because I was checking I was snooping.
All right.
And I was like, damn, there's like 70 people doing events while they could be doing halls. What's going on?
You know what? I go away for one weekend, and now I'm giving out wrong information.
Faulty information. Now you know how I feel. I leave for a day. And everything I say is wrong. And I'm just like, well then. Feels bad.
Yeah. And then the dungeon as a whole, what could be done to improve it? Nothing that I can think of. I am not bored of 2.0 yet. I think it's still engaging. I think it's still dangerous to some extent. And I think it is the most fun thing you can do in the game right now is just run halls. Other people have different ways they like to play the game, but personally, halls is the most engaging thing that you can do in this game right now, and I don't see a way to improve it just yet. How about you, Cansonio?
Yes, I was waiting for that.
Oh.
All right. I was waiting for that. I got paused and I was like, is he going to say it? Well, for me, I don't do the dungeon anymore as much. But as far as I know, most of my grievances from 1.0 were fixed. Like flame dragging, Colossus opening, like that was stuff that was very annoying to deal with, and I had to deal with it a lot. And I'm glad that's not a thing anymore. Glad they switched it up. Crumbs aren't a thing, thank God. Room respawns, they're not a thing anymore, thank the Lord. Keys can't be popped on top of other keys now, like thank God. All great stuff. And the dungeon itself is like, you're right, it's the best thing. It's like the most dangerous thing you can do. Like, even I did the thicket. Like, I did 3 thickets to learn how to do it, and now I know how to do it. And it's just like, thickets are easy now. And it's just, with Lost Halls, it doesn't matter how good you are. Like, you'll still probably die at some point. If you guys want to see what it looks like to die in the Lost Halls a lot, if you look at my graveyard, I think the last, 18 deaths are all 8/8s in the Lost Halls. So, I mean, you'll still die, and it's great that there's that risk, And when you're doing Shatters, it's like, who cares? Shatters are boring, they're easy. There's almost no chance of dying in Shatters unless you're just dumb. But with Lost Halls, there's always that, that factor that, who knows, maybe a Crusade will get dragged on you, or a Spooky spawns right in the middle of your group and eats you. You don't know what might happen. And yeah, Lost Halls are great. Server-wise, I like to think that we're doing a decent job. And if there's anything, I think Shoeler might be right in that the mods might talk to the raid-sided people a little bit more. I try my best to talk a lot there, but I know a lot of officers and securities are really busy working on Discord-sided stuff, and so they don't pop into talk with the raiders as much. In the end of the day, I just wish it'd be nice if the staff talked together a bit more. Be tighter buds, and that's my only thing really right now. I love all the staff, honestly, and so it's great. I mean, we'll be getting some new raid leaders soon. ARL is a batch of fresh meat. So I mean, I might come out. They might be there in the Discord by the time this video comes out. Maybe not. Depends how long it takes for you to edit and how long it takes for us to go through the applications. We have 70 applications to go through, and it's finals week. But I'll see what I can do.
This is going to be our last question. How would you feel about a new endgame dungeon?
All for it, 100%. I would raid lead for them as well.
You mean for us, obviously. Yes. Yeah.
A partnered additional endgame dungeon, 100%. I would do it.
Yeah, I don't mind. I mean, I just do halls
a secluded thicket.
That's not endgame.
No, that's not endgame. Like I said, it took me 3 times and I got it now.
What kind of endgame dungeon would you be interested in?
03.
Oh, 3, really?
Jesus. Oh my goodness. 05, yeah. Oh yeah. A new endgame dungeon. I didn't give much thought to it. I mean, Lost Halls is pretty dangerous as it is. I'm scared to think of how much harder they can make it and still have it like enough people want to do it.
The unnerfed Decaract.
Epic Lost
Oh
Halls.
God, Epic Lost Halls. Yeah. Every room is actually a marble colossus.
Oh my god.
And the thing is, you can't kill the marble colossus. You have to run away from it. And then there's just crusades in every
room.
corridor. Rush past colossus into crusades. That's what. Oh my god, the colossus fight should spawn crusades. That's the obvious solution, you know.
And you have like 5 spooky boys as
Five spooky boys during rage while trying to kill keys. That's the dream, you know. Deca, get on it. I want to see this by tomorrow.
You masochists.
Oh yeah. I mean, I won't be the one doing the dungeons. It'll be the other people suffering. I just get to watch them suffer.
You sadists.
No,
Yes,
God.
that's right.
No, please. Thank you to our Patreons. We have Klingeris, Vincent, Charzikin, Dobby, Adam Shogun, MG Oryx, Shaxazno, Refical, Tomfood, 3Cube, and the Mothership. Thank you so much for all your donations.
A couple announcements about our staff. Good Myth Morn, the fantastic artistic boy you see responsible for much of the art in the server and a supporter since the very beginning, is resigning. He's going to be focusing on a bunch of stuff happening in real life, spreading his amazing talent to more people. We're so thankful for everything he's done for us here, and we just want to say that we love you so much and just thank you for more than just the visual blessings that you've given us, but just all the comments and encouragement you've given us throughout the entirety of this podcast. It really means so much to all of us. We want to offer 2 congratulations. Katie, our newest artistic boy, is Good's protege and will be taking his position. She has some truly lovely work, and we're so excited to have you on board. Welcome! Now finally, I want to offer a congratulations to Refical for becoming an official Deca dummy, aka owner of this podcast. Ooh. Not only has he been a tremendous helping hand around here, but he'll be heading a lot of new things that will be coming onto the podcast. There'll be more news on this soon, but I'm super excited. This show was written, produced, and edited by Sam, Erica Starr, and all the wonderful staff behind Deca Debrief, voiced by Sam and Piggy. We have an email, decadebrief@gmail.com. If you have any burning inquiries or sponsorships that you would like to let us know about, please make sure to email us there. We want to give song props to DJ Quad, who is both our intro and our outro, and shout out to Good Myth Morn, who is responsible for literally every single cool piece of art you see for this podcast. This has been Deca Debrief, and you can consider yourself debriefed. See you next time.